The pandemic temporarily stops us to conduct a face-to-face learning setup, and we are all wondering what would be the future of our education. But in Far Eastern University, online learning system has been an integral part of our culture even before the pandemic has started. In FEU Institute of Architecture and Fine Arts, we are online learning ready. Along with Harvard, Cornell, Yale University, the FEU is one of the first school in the Philippines that uses Canvas, an easy-to-use and a one-click away online learning management system designed to help the students get the quality education they deserved. This first semester school year 2020-2021, to continue to adapt in the changes brought by this worldwide event, 3 flexible learning modalities were developed for you to experience the FEU education based on your capability and accessibility. Alongside with the FEU community, the Institute actively and strongly uses Canvas in different modalities of learning, awarding the Institute as the Canvas Champion last 2019. The Institute of Architecture and Fine Arts aims to become a globally recognized institution for academic excellence in design and arts. It aspires to create a diverse community of art and architecture practitioners with a strong sense of socio-civic, cultural, and environmental responsibility, and the ability to create innovative interventions that respond to distinctive challenges in local and international settings. Still, focus is directed towards developing the basic creative and technical skills. As a result, students have won in various design and arts competitions as well as producing architectural board exam places. The Institute dedicates itself to providing an inclusive and collaborative learning environment that empowers students to fulfill their academic and professional passion. Consistent with the university's mission, the Institute recognizes its primary goal to prepare graduates as future leaders, critical and creative thinkers, and responsive professionals toward industry excellence in the global context. Realizing technology to create new media and tools for harnessing creativity, EAFA has invested in upgrading its facilities with the addition of new computer laboratories that feature the latest hardware and software for computer-aided design, animation and rendering, which you can experience when this pandemic ends. EAFA also offers 3 specialization tracks in the undergraduate program to help students develop mastery on their chosen field. Building construction, housing design, urban design, Far Eastern University, future-ready learning.
Good morning and welcome everyone. I am Architect Shaira Reyes, faculty at the Institute of Architecture and Fine Arts, and I will be moderating today's webinar entitled Designing Bangkota, the Philippines Pavilion for Expo 2020 Dubai. Our resource speaker for today will be sharing with us his journey in designing the Philippines Pavilion for the highly regarded Dubai Expo 2020. I know you guys are all thrilled to get a glimpse of this very exciting project, and I'm certainly pumped to see something amazing as well. Just a few reminders before we proceed to the webinar proper. Always keep your video on and your microphone on mute. If you have queries, you may type in your question in the chat box. Our speaker will answer your questions during the discussion and question and answer portion of this webinar. Now, without further ado, let me begin with the introduction of our guest speaker this morning. He is the principal architect and CEO of BUDJI+ROYAL Architecture and Design, the lead advocate of Modern Filipino Architecture and Design, making him the most sought-after resource speaker on the subject. Together with principal designer and chairman BUDJI+ROYAL, he continues to spread their design philosophy and practical luxury in various projects in Beijing, Hong Kong, Singapore, India, Turkey, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, USA, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Thailand, and Israel. His passion is deeply rooted in his philosophy of authenticity and the nature of things. He is also known for distinct, responsive design and practical construction using various sustainable, energy-efficient materials and innovative technologies. He is always challenged by creating modern interpretation of the local cultural identity and fusing indigenous materials with artisanal methods. He was recently appointed co-chair of the first Design Advisory Council of the Philippines. He was awarded a doctorate degree by the Polytechnic University of the Philippines and named BCI Asia's top 10 architects of the Philippines. He was also bestowed Creative Force Award for the NAIA Airport Terminal 1 and the Mactan-Cebu International Airport Terminal. For Project Luz Viminda, his country vision of weaving the Philippine Islands with a network of roads, bridges, and railways, he was named National Innovator and Visionary. He spearheads BUDJI+ROYAL's ongoing projects in the country's modern Philippine city that include the new Clark International Airport, the Sacobia River Bridge, the iconic Athletics Stadium and Aquatics Center for the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. As the overall artistic theme director, he leads the creation of Bangkota, the Philippines Pavilion for Dubai Expo 2020. Everyone, I am pleased and honored to introduce to you Architect Royal Pineda.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear
Yeah.
you.
Can you see me also? I just want to
Yes,
make
sir.
sure that things are running with our webinar. No?
Yes, sir, you're bright and clear.
Okay. So thank you so much for inviting me again, FEU. No, and I'm very happy. And actually, it's a very interesting topic that you have now, designing with nature. And I thought of sharing this with everybody, all the students and colleagues who are watching right now. I would like to share with you our latest project, and this is the Bangkota, which is the Philippines Pavilion 2020 in Dubai for the World Expo. No? We're trying to, I don't know if you can see the slides already. I think they're still putting it. Um, is it already showing?
Yes, sir. Not yet, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Anyway, so as they try to figure things out, well, just to give you a background, uh, Bangkota or the Philippines Pavilion is something that is very important for the country, and this is something that gives presence to the Philippines, no, in the international arena. And hopefully, this project will also be a source of pride and dignity for the Filipinos. And what really made me pursue this project, because this was a bidding project. No, it's a bidding, and we competed with two more other architectural design firms, and it was also somehow a blessing that we got this project, though it was a very bold move for me to present this concept that I will show to you. And again, I think this is more of an innovation or a breakthrough from the normal and the traditional approach in presenting our World Expo event. Um, okay, so the idea is we're just trying to put together the slides. No? I think there's some technical difficulties again, but again, this is something for us. A very challenging and exciting project now. Hopefully, you will also be excited with it. I want to share this to all our future architects, no, from FEU. I think this is from different years and levels, but
Yes.
I believe that this inspiration or this concept will be something that somehow will guide you as the new architects of the future and the new modern Filipino architects for our future. Do you have the slides now? Are you seeing it now, Shira?
Yes, sir. It's already on.
It's a full screen, or you're seeing multiple tiles?
It's a full screen already, sir. We
Okay,
can
screen.
do
Thank you
that.
so much.
Thank you,
All right.
sir.
Again, sorry for those things. No, this is actually a normal thing for a webinar. This technical issues that keeps happening from time to time. But not to delay anything furthermore, no. So we would like to present to you again our firm, BUDJI+ROYAL. This is a total design firm. Just a background there so that you guys will have an idea of where did I get this inspiration, this process of designing the Philippines Pavilion, and how I was able to put it together and present it to the government. So again, we are a collaborative setup. We in the company is a believer of collaboration. We believe that architecture and the total approach of design can only happen if there's collaboration. We are the modern Filipino architecture and design advocates of the country. We believe that this is something that we all deserve. We all been waiting for our identity. We've been waiting for a more progressive approach. And we believe in modernity as betterment. No? It is a mindset for architects and for the students out there watching. Modernity is not about the materials, it's not just about the approach, but it's really more of the mindset. No? The mindset of every person who will be engaging themselves into improving and progressing as a person, and again, that influence all your thinking, all your actions, making you a modern Filipino architect or a modern Filipino individual. No, we are again an advocate of what is Filipino and what is very rooted as a Filipino, and it is basically and simply truthful, to its approach, to its very essence. It is honest. It's all about that integrity that we are trying to look for and we are trying to promote in all our creations. So for the World Expo, just to give you a background, and as I mentioned a while ago, that this was a bidding process that happened. And when we presented this, it was again a very exciting and challenging task because this expo is created and being organized by the Bureau International de Exposición, which is again in charge of the major and four main expos in the world. No? This is the Triennale, the one in Milan, the specialized expos and also the World Expo, which is the biggest show on earth. No? The World Expo is actually, as I mentioned, the biggest because this has right now there are 195 countries participating, and again the best of the best, the architects, the designers are all there collaborating with everyone working on their country's projects to represent their country in their pavilions. And this exposition started since 1851, no? During the 1800s. And it happens every 5 years. No? That is why, just to give you a more familiar picture of what the expo is, the reason why there's an Eiffel Tower, it was because there was an expo held in Paris during that time. So these are, again, big events. And right now in Dubai, they're creating this 600 hectares of land in the World Expo. So the Philippines, we participated, I believe, 7 times already, and it was held in different countries. And right now, the Philippines Pavilion for the Dubai Expo is the biggest, in the history of the Philippine Pavilions. It is the biggest. And we are working now and still doing the construction of the project in Dubai. As I said, that the venue will be 600 hectares, which is a 4.38 easily square kilometer. So this is almost like a city being done for the expo alone, And this is also designed to be a future city in Dubai after the World Expo. After the 6 month event, it will be something else, a part of the city itself. Now, the World Expo features three areas. There is mobility, opportunity, and sustainability. We are part of the sustainability area or the sustainability zone, which is actually also a very good somehow timing and opportunity for us to be in the sustainability area, because I think it really is just perfect with the times. You can see that the pavilion itself has so much meaning because of the issues of the COVID-19, and this is again something that we are presenting, the cultural sustainability as part of our major presentation. We thought, BUDJI+ROYAL thought that it is quite a challenge to create something that is very, I would say, Filipino, at the same time important globally, something that's very relevant globally. When everybody's trying to do sustainability efforts in terms of buildings, engineering, technology, what we wanted is to present the nature of the Philippines. And later, I'll show you how we presented it and how we came up with the concept of cultural sustainability. Instead of competing and trying to present things that are not about the expertise or something that we can easily highlight in the country's practice, we presented something that is more of the people. We feel that the people is our strength, it's our asset, so we're presenting the culture and how we are sustaining our culture as Filipinos. Now, just to brief you quickly, when we presented this bid and this design, we needed to come up with a very strong foundation. And I wanted to share with you the very source and roots of our design sensibility. And I needed to present this also to the government during that time, to the audience or to the jury. There were easily 25 people there. And during that time, the bids were basically working on our co-bidders were also presenting something that's more on the traditional approach. So what we did is we presented the nature of things, which is our philosophy. So everything evolves organically. We presented our core concept and philosophy, which is nature is peace, where great design is organic in nature. You will understand why these philosophies are important in designing the Bangkota. Because again, we didn't want to design something that was just created and made up just to make it more interesting. But we made it interesting by just making it truly the nature of the Philippines. So it's the other way around. We're trying to highlight our nature as a country, as a people. So nature's peace is about great designs, as I mentioned, and it's always peaceful that even an erupting volcano is peaceful. Managed nature is this concept and again, the nature is man being our, I would say, the revelation that we received, no, in terms of understanding how to present man is nature. It's never man and nature, no. It's now to be understood that man is actually nature itself. So somehow this works perfectly well in the sustainability concept or of the World Expo because again this is integrating man's efforts to nature itself. Now the variety of the world is something that we always believe in, and it's also perfect for the World Expo because we decided to bid and present this concept for the expo not to compete, no, but to coexist with the world, no. And this is what we are going to do. We are going to present the Philippines Pavilion not to compete with the rest of the great works of the other architects and the other nations participating, but to somehow highlight what we can contribute as a country and as people. So what did we present? So we presented the basic. What we presented was the very simple, no-brainer, nothing complicated. It's just knowing and going back to the very roots of who we are. We are presenting the nature of the Philippines. And that is why we came up with Bangkota. And Bangkota is actually an ancient Tagalog word for a coral reef. So this is, some people will call it bahura, but bahura actually is a Spanish word. Bangkota is something that we wanted to really use because we believe that our history goes back farther than 400 years. It goes back to 4,000 and even more, years, wherein we want the Filipinos to be presented from its very origin, the real roots of the Filipinos, how free, how beautiful, how creative we are as a people. So if you really look at the nature of the country and the nature of the people as Filipinos, even before we were called Filipinos, we were already the center of the marine biodiversity of the world, where we have all these species underwater in our country. Meaning to say we were defined by nature to be this. And what we did is, being defined by nature itself, just need to present that very nature of the Philippines, And that is why Bangkota, which is a coral reef, which is the smallest, organism in the world, but they're also the biggest because once they come together, like Filipinos, we are all over the world, but if we all come together, we are dispersed, but we are together and we are connected and we are one as a nation, as people. This is what we want to present in the metaphor of Bangkota as the architecture and the exhibit will be. When we were presenting this, the challenge is how do you now build and represent your country in a very architectural manner, wherein you are not also repeating and being backward in the representation of what it should be as a physical form. So the challenge was that, and we've been doing this with our projects, and we've always believed that modernity can happen constantly and it can always evolve. And what made us design the Bangkota is we wanted to present how Juan de la Cruz created the Bahay Kubo during his time. And what we did is we created and conceptualized Bangkota to be designed and built with the resources of what is available in Dubai, just like how Juan de la Cruz designed his Bahay Kubo. with all the available steel materials and engineering capabilities in Dubai, we made sure that we will not bring in anything that's to put together this architecture. So in a way, it was a blessing because with this approach of being truthful and being responsive in Dubai, with this time of pandemic, the Bangkota Pavilion is now not delayed because of any importations, but it's on time and it's moving according to the plan. Because again, everything was within their reach, no? Everything that was put together in the design, like Juan de la Cruz, the free bamboo, the free nipa, it was available in Dubai. It was the available steel materials, available mesh, available panels, available engineering. So they did not need to be hostage by the pandemic situation. So it was a good and timely response that we did for the Bangkota design. And as a concept, what we wanted is to create a permeable architecture, which is one of the main features of a Philippine architecture. No? A Philippine architecture is always permeable. It is always through and through. It's welcoming, just like the people. The Filipinos are always welcoming. It is always connected. We are very well connected with our families, with our friends, and we are very warm people. So this architecture should be an expression of all these two elements that we put together. And that will lead us to creating this concept and this application, which we coined for the country itself. We call it practical luxury. No? What we believe is important for the Philippines to contribute is to present this idea of practical luxury to the world. You know? When we did the design for the Bangkota, we already realized that every country will try to impress each other. You know? And that's fine. And that's okay. You know? In fact, they're doing a lot of beautiful architecture and high polluting architecture. But in the end, it is, we just find it too materialistic. No? And for us as not a first world country, but a progressing country, we thought of how to create and be able to create luxury in our project, especially the Bangkota. And that came out to be practical luxury because we believe that Filipinos deserve luxury by design. And this is what is going to be shown in the Bangkota Pavilion. Now, in the Bangkota Pavilion, you will see materials made of concrete, mesh, and sandwich panels that are basically available in Dubai. And these are all created, again, with the concept of practical luxury. Not just for Bangkota itself, no. This is again triggered by the very idea that when we thought of the practical luxury, we were thinking of how do we really make our country, the Philippines, better. You cannot just make the country modern and progressive just by telling them that it can be. What we needed to do is to create an avenue, a roadmap towards how future architects, all of you, and architects who are also with us, practical luxury is something that we created because we believe that we don't need to wait for us to be first world to be able to create luxury in our country. As architects and designers, Bangkota will be a symbol of practical luxury, wherein a concrete, wire mesh, and sandwich panel is gonna represent this sophistication, this modernity that we are talking about. And again, in the creation of this Bangkota, we needed to respond. We didn't bring Bahay Kubo literally in Dubai. We didn't want to bring the nipa, the kogon, or the bamboo, but we needed to bring the essence, the sensibility of Juan de la Cruz. the common sense of Juan de la Cruz, the practicality of Juan de la Cruz. When we built it, we needed to consider the sun, the wind, you know, and all this mesh became sunscreens, and the curves became wind triggers. It became passageways to create air movement. Because take note, we are basically doing this in Dubai, you know, and we wanted people to be able to walk in and out of the place and still have that protection from the sun, and also again, air movement in the architecture. So somehow what we are showing to the world is about the creation of design that is very practical but very affordable, at the same time very prudent, and because it's about modularity, it's about designing in simple ways, it's about simplicity, no? But at the same time, it should work, no? It should really work, and it represents, again, architecture, because it should house and it should shelter the function that it's supposed to house, no? So the modularity, if you see the screen, you can actually see how simple we made it, no? We made it all modular for the reason that this project will also be brought back to the Philippines, no? To be an exhibition, not just a temporary exhibition, but at the same time, it will be an exhibition for future architects, future Filipinos, I mean, in terms of the next generation understanding their real history, because the content later will show you that the history of the Philippines goes back, no? It goes back to 4,000 years ago. So we are not limited of the history of the 400 years of the Spaniards, the Japanese, and the Americans. It's actually more richer than what we think, no? So this is going to be put together and again established as a permanent exhibition in the new Clark City in Pampanga and Tarlac, no? So we're using also landscape that exists in Dubai. These are actually plants that thrives in Dubai. Again, we are not importing anything from outside and bringing it into Dubai. So just to highlight practical luxury and our design strategies, again, designing with nature is actually very easy. I would like you to understand that designing with nature should be effortless. No? Why? Because if you listened a while ago in the very concept of and the philosophy of the nature of things, where nature is peace, making your core is nature, believing that you are nature, man is nature, you are nature itself. You are not part, or you are not separated from nature, and you as a variety of the world. Put it all together. Anything that you design now will always be an element of nature. You can create something that really syncs together with nature, because you already have immerse yourself in being one of the great creations here in the planet. You are nature itself. No? So let me show you, please, how this construction method was put together by our winning contractor in Dubai. So again, it was a steel company and a very good general contractor, and this was their proposal, just for you to appreciate how technically the Dubai people were able to put it together. Can you play this, please? Okay. Um, so the architecture and design was put together with again by the group, no, our team, to simply create that oneness with nature. Because again, take note that the Philippines Pavilion sits in the sustainability area. So it's a zone wherein you have to create a theme based on your again on your location. So if you look at the form of Bangkota or the coral reef, you can see that the curves, no, and the movement, no, that's the concept of movement, mobility, and sustainability that we put together, and also the connectivity of the Filipinos. So seeing the architecture from below, from a normal eye view and from a bird's eye view, and also from a distance, it will show this coral reef movement, the shape of coral reefs that is actually created to somehow express this poetry of the lines and the movement of the designs. So at night, it will be glowing with the natural, with the underwater feel and colors of blue to create that movement of water ripples also, and also highlighting the tropical landscaping. You know. So in the plan, we this is a very interesting exhibition for me, no? Take note that we, as the architects and designers, I was also awarded to be the creative director for this project. Because if you notice, if you read the elements that's inside the pavilion, you can see nature is peace, manage nature, and the variety of the world, no? And the fifth is our gift to the world, no? If you notice that these three philosophies that I shared with you a while ago is actually the main content of the entire pavilion, no? This is because the Philippines is now hosting, as I said, the world is already too materialistic. This time being in a sustainable location or sustainable zone, let I told the government, let the rest of the countries participating present engineering, present technology, present all these things that they can present because they're good at it. But for the Filipinos, let us present our nature as people, no? Wherein we feel that I think the Filipinos and the people as Filipinos are actually the gift, our gift to the world, because we are globally out there. We are sharing our warmth, our sensibility, our creativity. We have architects abroad in the Middle East, in Europe and America. We have engineers, we have nurses, we have so many creative and also warm people all over the world. And this is what I'm saying, that the nature of the Philippines is so great. And that is what we are sharing to the world. We just need to go back to what is our culture as people. And this is not just for the Filipinos, but this is for everybody in the world. And as I said, it's so timing that there is this pandemic. That's why when we were doing this and then the pandemic happened, the government even asked me, is our exhibit still relevant? No? Because now there is pandemic. Some projects or some pavilions are doing technology, turning air to water, technology of getting the solar power and making it off-grid architecture. I mean, they're all good, but I think with the pandemic, it's even more important to understand that oneness with nature is the way to go. And in fact, when I presented this during the sustainability talk in Dubai, wherein Brazil and the Netherlands were invited. Brazil, Netherlands, and the Philippines. We presented our pavilions, and we got a very remarkable comment, and I really somehow felt that we are towards the right direction, because when they came to me, the Emiratis came to me and said that this concept of practical luxury, the nature of things, is the most sincerest effort to be sustainable. It's the most sincere effort to be one with nature, because you have to start from the mind. It has to start from the mind. So again, in terms of architecture, this entire pavilion is um, a covered floor area of 1,380 square meter, but it has a total of 5,000 square meter, because you can go all around and go up to the roof deck and be able to think about that concept that you will experience inside. And once you get out of the pavilion, you will now have the moment to ponder and ask the question, where did I really come from? What is really my roots as a Filipino? Either you're a Filipino or you're a Frenchman, you're an Italian. You come into this pavilion and you step out with the question, where did I really come from? And only to find out that in the end, we are one with nature. This is what this pavilion is expressing, that there should be no race, there should be no issue of discrimination, because in the end, we are all equally created. So I will just move forward to the images of the architecture. And again, this is the renderings that we created. And later I'll show you the most updated images. And these are the ramps that goes up. You can see that the sun also gets filtered because you're in Dubai. Take note that this is happening during the cold months of the year. So it's gonna be happening October all the way to, I think, April, or March. So we are featuring a lot of Filipino creativity. So we're presenting Filipino artists. Again, we are presenting the nature of the Filipinos. We have sculptures, we have artworks. Again, these are all created by our great Filipino artists. In collaboration, take note that we are collaborating with the engineering, the manufacturing, and the people in Dubai. So basically, this is a modern bayanihan. This is a concept of modern bayanihan, that the Philippines can be creatively out there and global and collaborating with the best of the world. So what we're trying to show in this main event, that whoever sees this pavilion will say and will be able to understand that the Filipinos are ready to collaborate with the world. We are not anymore workers of the world. We are partners of the world. We are great collaborators. We have something to bring to their country, to add on to their country, and bring that sensibility as our gift to their nation also. So, meaning to say, we are opening up to a more global practice. We are opening up to a more, I would say, sharing. It's more of sharing than competing. You have to share the gift. You have to share your creativity. And this is the Bangkota at night. So at night, we will be projecting lights that will present the water, or the patterns of water. And again, this is something that creates the scale. If you notice, we maximize the height. Take note, we have a very limited budget. But what I didn't want to happen is that against the rest of the pavilions around, which are big pavilions. No, we have, I think, we have Canada beside us. We have, I think, Brazil on the other side. They're all big. They're spending so much in their pavilion, but the budget should not be a limitation to be able to express something that is stunning and grand. And through this mesh that we created, we were able to create a presence, the height and the scale. But actually, the total floor area is only 1,380. But the entire vastness of the space and the scale of the height, we were able to maximize and work with the budget. And that's one of the thing that made us win the bid, because we were able to show the government a vision, and we were able to express to them how it will all be done and how it will all be costed out, and up to the point that the commissioning or the dismantling of this, we already figured out how to dismantle it and how to bring it and ship it back to Manila, to the new Clark City, because again, we feel that it is also being prudent and being wise with the expenses of the government, that this kind of exhibition should not be limited to the Dubai viewers only. It should be for all the Filipinos. So we're bringing it back to the country, and by 2022, it should already be up in Clark for all of you to see. If you won't make it to see and watch it in Dubai, you will still see it in Clark. No, so exhibition halls, again, this will be all consisting of nature's peace, man is nature, and the variety of the world. Wherein, again, we're showing the nature of our island, the very unique species that can only be found in the Philippines. We are creating the history of man, or the Filipinos in our country, when they started to actually discover being one with nature again. And we are again always working with creative artists. These are works done by our Filipino artists that we commission. So this is again the variety of the world, showing a sculpture that will express. I will not discuss with you the details of these sculptures because it can be, I'm limited with time, but the fact that we are featuring all these elements, no, and this component in the exhibit itself. So in that very dark room, there will be a huge, and this is like a 3-story screen, wherein we will be playing the story of the Filipinos in a very modern take. No, this will be in a very modern presentation. It will be a very creative presentation. We are working with Filipino dancers, Filipino choreographers. We are working with the national artist for the music. We are working with costume designers. It's a full production. We are working with a modern Filipino graphic artist, and computer-generated images are being created by them also. We are working with great production teams here. No, we are collaborating with the global engineering for the technicality of presenting this imagery. No? So what's impressive here is that you can see something that is globally, it's high standard presentation, but again, the creativity of the Filipinos is there. No? So again, we're not just having this created by foreigners and we just sit back and let them do the rest. But the direction of the design is all by the Filipinos, and then execution is being created by the technical group of these engineers and technical people. So also we have a souvenir place for the Philippine products. No, we have our cafe. No, we will be having the Bangkota cafe. wherein there will be again food from the Philippines. We are serving the Filipino food, again created by creative and chefs, Filipino chefs. Again, this is all about the flavor of the Philippines. We are modernizing it. We are creating something that's very exciting for the world to see. Now, we are not doing the very traditional way of presenting our food. We're creating something that's very, again, progressive, very exciting. So this is the office. And then just to show you the progress shots, these are the actual photos of the place. So this is already up. We are on time. As I said, we are not affected by the pandemic. We are basically following all the safety protocols. And what's nice is that the modules, you can see how it's being put together, the way the shadows, the sparkles that's happening with the reflective disc and the curves, you can see that the lines and that very ghost feeling of the screens or the mesh are constantly present, especially from afar. It's like a mirage in the desert that you'll see, when you see this from afar. So again, this is the highest part of the pavilion, where you can see the view of the desert, and the rest of the entire pavilion itself. Now, just to show you the pavilion itself, I will show you some of the videos that we did. Again, this is just to showcase the atmosphere. This is just to showcase the views that you will experience and the feeling that you'll experience underneath and above the pavilion, and also inside the pavilion. So, in a way, it is a very simple, organic architecture, but it's with the modernity, So, for architects and future architects like you, I recommend for you to go to Dubai Expo, to the World Expo. Why? Because first you will see the World Expo, wherein it's a 600 hectares. I don't think you can finish it in 3 days. I think it will be almost a week for you to go around. But at the same time, you will be in Dubai, wherein you will see beautiful architecture of different types, the Burj Khalifa and many other architectural features, which I think makes the trip so worth it. And this will happen in October. Hopefully, there are more safety protocols and it will be safer to travel. But look at that, the feeling of what it is underneath when you look up, and also the feeling of it from above, where when you walk around those ramps, those layers of gardens. I think in the end, this is all about the modernity of the minds of the Filipinos. This is about making all of us, be creative again. Let us not be bounded by the traditional approach. Let the tradition be an inspiration. Let's not abandon it, but let us make them as our inspiration. But do something progressive, move forward, and make our country constantly better by creating modern Filipino architecture and design. So this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is how we created Bangkota, and this is how we are presenting our country to the world. Thank you so much.
Wow, Architect Royal Pineda, thank you for that very awe-inspiring presentation. That was such a feast to my eyes and for sure was equally remarkable to our participants and our architects and aspiring young architects. All right, so we will now be taking the time to answer the questions that the participants sent us earlier. To all other participants, please feel free to still send us your questions via the chat box. Architect Royal would love to engage and hear your thoughts as well. Okay, let's proceed to the first question. Hi, sir. Good morning. How do you apply the practical luxury concept of houses of middle class Filipino people?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question because, as I said, when we thought of modern Philippines, I cannot just declare a dream. a dream that I've always been seeing, in my thoughts, that modern Philippines will be a very promising Philippines. Now, how do we get there? The reason why practical luxury occurred is because um, it cannot happen only in private projects. It cannot just happen in private, beautiful resorts, expensive resorts, or the houses that we create in Forbes or in Dasma or in the high-end villages. Take note that BUDJI+ROYAL is a high-end brand. No? We cater to the luxurious market. No? But then that should not stop us from bringing this dream for the Filipinos. No? In fact, it is our main tool, no, to inspire more Filipinos that modern Filipino architecture and design is tasteful and it's not baduy. And that is why modern Filipino architecture and design should be applied to all, no? And to the bahay kubo, no? To the very small bahay kubo that even if it's made of nipa or bamboo, you just have to make it and keep it truthful. Just to share with you, and the person who asked about how do you really apply it, I will give you a story that I actually encountered when I was in Mindanao. No? When I was talking to the architects of Mindanao, and their question to me was, because I was showing them our projects, their question to me was, architect, how do you really apply this, and how do you get projects? No, because we are seeing beautiful works, and because you're in Manila, you're out there globally, you're doing expensive projects. But here in Mindanao, when we have a project, a client would look for a foreman, no? They don't even look for an architect. They look for a foreman, no? Because they're saying it's because they're only building bahay kubos, no? Or indigenous materials, or something that's cheap, no? Or I would say affordable. But for me, it's something that's sustainable or available, no? So that was for them a big issue, no? Which is okay, accepted. But if you really look at it, what I told them is this. You are architects. You are Mindanao architects. You are architects of your place. You are architects of the country. You studied and you took 5 years and took the board. And I believe that if you take a Bahay Kubo project and design it like a Filipino architect, a modern Filipino architect, and put all your knowledge and your expertise in creating that Bahay Kubo, next time, what you built as a Bahay Kubo versus a Bahay Kubo built by a foreman will be totally different from each other. Now, what does it entail? It entails betterment. It entails modernity. It entails refinement. It entails sophistication. Why? Because as an architect, as a modern Filipino architect, you have the background to improve the lives of those Filipinos living in this Bahay Kubo. No? The worst thing that can happen is that you as a modern Filipino architect did the same thing like what the foreman did. So what makes you a better person or a professional versus a foreman? So if I am a client, if your work as an architect is just like a Bahay Kubo made by a foreman, I will not go to you. I will just go to the foreman because there's nothing you can offer. The key is you should always have the heart to share and to give. You have to have the heart to give that expertise and share that expertise in your creation so that your Bahay Kubo, even if it's 100,000 Bahay Kubo, it will be practical luxury. it will be a modern Filipino architecture and design. It will be authentic, it will be unique, and it will start to create the landscape of the modern Philippines. So this is how you go towards practical luxury. And I hope that answers his question.
I hope so too, sir, Architect Royal. So it's not about really the budget or the material, it's the truthfulness and the application of these materials. And you should also give your expertise in all your types of projects. So may it be mid-class or projects, high-class projects. All right, thank you for that question, Architect Royal Pineda. We'll proceed to the next question, which is um, I think this is a student, undecided, aspiring architect. His question is, he's still undecided kung archi ba talaga ang kukunin niya. Please enlighten me.
Oh. So we have somebody who's planning to be an architect or having that second thought. Huh? What is his question? He wants to be enlightened.
Yeah, I think so, sir. Yes.
Well, you know, for me, it's like any other courses, no. In the end, you have to follow your heart, no. In the end, I mean, if it's your passion to design, to envision, no. I mean, sketching is or drawing is actually a major tool in a way, but with all the help of the technology also available, it's almost like I would say it's a 50-50 requirement. But for me, I think as long as you are a visionary, as long as you always dream for something better, something that will improve, you can be an architect, you can be a product designer or an industrial designer if you're a design-oriented mind. So my point is, if you feel your passion, either it's in writing, in designing, in architecture, just follow your heart. In the end, you know me, as I always say, I'm playing. I'm having fun. I'm just having a good time. I'm constantly dreaming. It's not that I'm playing and I'm not serious. I'm playing and I'm very serious with my dream. My dream is to have a modern Philippines. And that's been my constant. You can actually, some people might be already bored with me because I keep talking about my dream. I keep talking about modern Philippines. I keep talking about my modern Filipino sensibility. I keep talking about it. It never changed from the day that I have envisioned my dream. It never changed. It's because I want to get there. It's because I want to fulfill my dream. And this will not happen during my time. It will happen all throughout the generations to come. That's why I called it modern Filipino. It's a modernity which is betterment, progressive Filipino. So every person should always dream, and that will continue. And for him, for that person who asked if he has a dream, just follow your dream, follow your heart. That's it. And you will be happy, you will be successful. The rest will follow. Fame, popularity, whatever you call it, money, you know, happiness, it's all gonna be there as long as you love what you do.
Yes, I agree with that, architect. All right, thank you for the your question. We'll proceed to the next. Hi sir, how to become a successful architect po?
Oh, well, I just said it a while ago, no? I think as long as you really love what you do, but do it not for yourself only. I think the key is to do it for others. No, I think you should have the heart to give. You should always offer and somehow dedicate your work for others to make things better for others. because in the end, the others will also dream good things for you. You know, in the end, it's like a ripple, you know, it's like it's a wave of good things. You just have to keep sharing something good. That's why in the Philippines Pavilion, if you notice, there's the fourth venue, which is our gift to the world. No? Because the idea is once we're able to share this concept of nature and going back and being one with nature again to the world is our gift now. To the world is our offering. We are now hosting this mindset. The Filipinos is actually the Filipinos are bringing this mindset to every people in the world to understand that in the end it's all about going back to nature. So I think that willingness to give is very important because if your measure of success is money, you will never be successful. You will never be satisfied with money. Money will always go up, you know, in terms of numbers. But if your real inspiration is to do good to others, every day, every single moment you receive a thanks. Somebody keeps thanking you. Somebody keeps appreciating what you have given them. That's success every day. That's success every moment. So it builds up. It becomes who you are. It becomes your very you. Your the very nature of you as a giver. No, and it doesn't run out. You know that's the best thing. If you keep becoming a source of goodness, of inspiration, and you try to empower as many as you can, it's sharing what you have. And the thing that you have will never run out because it just keeps flowing.
Thank you for that, architect. So just do what you love, follow your heart and fulfill your dreams, and don't forget to do good. Okay. I think this is related to our first question, architect Real. How do you meet budget and practical luxury po on a particular project? But the additional question is, what is your design process or mindset on that?
Um, Actually, practical luxury is the answer to how do you achieve a project satisfying the limitations. Take note when we were given this Bangkota, and not just Bangkota. No, I would like to already express this and make it clear that in all projects we should always try to do it this way, which is my process, our process here in the office. Uh, just condensing it, let's say put it in the creation of Bangkota. In the creation of Bangkota, it's simple. Though our competitors, the other bidders, were actually showing a concept, no, an idea, so on and so forth. That's all fine. They thought that that was important to be shown as an initial bid. But in our case, what we needed to do to create practical luxury and to make it successful for these people who never heard about practical luxury, you know, what we needed to do is to present our vision from A to Z. You know, what is A to Z? A to Z is about showing a dream and be able to understand and create a plan, a roadmap up to its implementation. No? So if you notice, when I presented to you the Bangkota, I presented to you how we designed modularity, the construction method, and the system, how it will be brought back to Clark, what will happen to the money that was invested by the government, it will go back to Clark. The price of the project, we needed to price the project all the way to the contingency, meaning to say to the allowance that we need to provide just in case there will be variations on the project. We needed to put it all together so that the vision of practical luxury will be understood. It's like building your own house. If you are building your own house and I tell you, oh, I have a great design, I'm an architect, I show you a beautiful sketch. Nice, impressive. But then, can it happen? Will it be built? Will it be a reality? That is how you bring it to reality. Think of the totality of that practical luxury. That means to say, when you dream, you also have to make sure that it can happen. Then, what you offer, if somebody gives you 1 million peso for a house, your vision, your dream should be aligned to that 1 million. You know, whatever it, either it's 200 million of a house, you dream and you present how to get there. That is how you also become the visionary. You know, that is how you become the captain of the ship. You will only be the captain of the project or the one that holds the baton as the architect if you know the project from the beginning up to the end. Why? Because the only person who can see this actual vision is you. You're the only one seeing the vision, not the engineers. You have to tell them what to do. The other manufacturers, the subcontractors, the general contractors, they're waiting for you to give them the vision. So in the end, it is about knowing, about understanding. It is about studying your vision and make sure that it works. Take note, this is something that I want to leave with you as architects, future architects and designers. We are creators. And take note that whatever we create, the start of every person in the team to create it is already your ending. Before a project starts, it's already finished in your mind. It's already been created by you in your mind. You already have, in fact, the plans of it, right? And when you have that plan, you already have planned the success of your creation. So that means to say that your plans become sacred, all of the team members, so that they now keep following your vision. So this is how to do it. This is how you lead yourself to doing practical luxury.
Thank you, Architect. We will be reading our last question. We'd love to hear more questions from you, but we're running out of time at the moment. So for our last question, all right. So considering the vast biodiversity in the Philippines, why and how did you choose corals as the inspiration for the project Bangkota?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned a while ago, I wanted to present the nature of the Philippines. No, I didn't want to compete. No, I didn't want to compete with technology, with many other things that, for me, does not highlight the assets or the strength of the Filipinos. And when I thought of something that will really be ours, where nobody can own it, no? And I don't need to compete with it, no? It's not like I'm competing with the highest or tallest mountain in the world. It's not in the Philippines. That's not the nature of the Philippines. The Mount Everest is not in the Philippines. But this, being the center of the marine biodiversity of the world, I think that is ours. And that is, I mean, by science and facts, no? We are the center of the marine biodiversity of the world. And being that way, I thought that the element of Bangkota, which is the coral reef, is something that is like a network of underwater species, no? And it's like the Filipinos, like we are all over the world, no? We are all over the world, and I love the metaphor that that architecture becomes a very modern form, an organic form that represents the movement of the Filipinos all over the world, the unity of the Filipinos, the connectivity of the Filipinos, and at the same time, I think this is the strong family ties of the Filipinos. So, in the end, it is a poetry that I felt I didn't just pull out from the sky, and thought of just creating a form and an idea. But I was inspired by nature. Again, I'm a naturalist and a modernist. I presented to you my precepts, my philosophy in my designs. And I'm always inspired not by the magazines, no, or the pictures and the books and all this Pinterest and the other internet images. I'm inspired by nature itself because I want to celebrate our ancestors when they were very creative and they were inspired by the beautiful mountains, the rivers, the ancient trees and ancient rocks of our land, no, and our islands and our underwater world. I mean, these were the inspirations of our ancient forefathers, no. So my point is, I can go back to that very root of becoming a creative, an architect of today that is basically tapping to the very roots of real source of designs and creativity. Because I tell you, if so you ask somebody, a Filipino, to say, okay, can you design me a Filipino architecture? They start to do the bahay kubo, the bahay na bato, and it's just a repeat of what our other forefathers did, no? But my point is, I'm given this creativity today, and at the same time, I'm given the infinite nature as my inspiration. Why can't I create something authentic? Why can't I say this is from the very inspiration of a coral reef? No, instead of making it look like the Guggenheim, making it look like the Frank Gehry work or a Zaha Hadid work, why can't we make our own and say that the best practices of the world is not just coming from outside. The best practices of the world can also come from the Philippines. That is what my point of view is. That is why I am for authenticity. That is why my real inspiration is from the very raw material of nature. I am not going to open a magazine and look at the book or reference from the books. I will just go to the forest, I'll go see the underwater, I'll go back to nature, and that will tell me what my architecture will be.
Thank you for that, Architect Rael Pineda. I'm pretty sure our participants would want to get to know Architect Pineda a bit more. That's why we'll be having a short segment of Fast Talk. Would that be all right, Architect?
Yeah, sure, no problem. That would be nice.
All right, let's get to it. I'll start with the first one. Wood or metal?
Wood.
New Clark International Airport or Mactan-Cebu International Airport?
Clark.
Manual drawing or digital drawing?
Manual.
Zaha Hadid or Frank Lloyd Wright?
None.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Residential or commercial?
Residential or commercial? Residential.
City or countryside?
Countryside.
Finally, Bangkota or Project Luz Biminda?
Luz Biminda.
All right. Well, that was fun, even if it's a bit short. Thank you for being such a sport, Architect Pineda. All right. So That ends our question and answer portion. Thank you everyone for your active participation. Before we close the discussion, any final words to our architects and young aspiring architects, Architect Real?
Well, for everyone, first, thank you for spending this time with me, and also for FEU for inviting me. For all the students, the undecided and the decided ones, I just want you to have fun. I just want you to have a good life and a meaningful life. And for me, like I found that happiness, that fun part that I'm looking for. I found it with architecture. I found my tool. I found my this is my purpose. This is my purpose, and I think that is a very critical thing. Yeah, as a human being, to find your purpose. I think this is something that as you grow, as you mature, yes, you will be, in your youthful days, you will be on a search. No? It's good. It's good. I'm actually planting a seed for you to search. That's why I'm asking, and I'm putting in the expo itself also. The big question there is, who are you? Where did you really come from? Who are you? Just keep that question inside you, and the rest will follow. But the worst thing that can happen is you don't even know who you are, and that is a dilemma. And this is what I'm trying to do in my course, in my purpose. I found myself as an architect who will define modern Filipino architecture and design. I have found myself as a modern Filipino architect who will share this sensibility to the world as my gift to the world. No? So if you have your question and if it lingers, discover it. And that will be an exciting journey. There is no formula. The only thing that is important is keep that question in your head and find the answer. And that answer will be found only by you through your experiences and your exciting adventures. But in the end, what's really rewarding is that you find you. That is my message to everyone. And I really hope that you'll have a good time being an architect.
Thank you once again. That was Architect Real Pineda. So let us keep watering that seed that Architect Real Pineda planted for us, yeah, us aspiring architects. It was a very fruitful morning having you here with us. We are sure looking forward to all of your exciting projects in the future. So, before we conclude today's webinar, I will be presenting to our esteemed resource speaker his certificate of recognition for his participation in FEU ARFA's Industry Mentor Webinar Series for Architecture. Far Eastern University Institute of Architecture and Fine Arts awards this certificate of recognition to Architect Royal Pineda, UAP, as FEU ARFA's resource speaker on the Industry Mentor Webinar Series for Architecture on Designing Bangkota, the Philippines Pavilion for Expo 2020 Dubai, given this fourth day of December 2020 at Far Eastern University, Manila, signed by Architect Mark Joseph G. Mercado, Department Chair for Architecture, and signed Architect Raquel L. Baquiran, Dean of Institute of Architecture and Fine Arts. All right, that is a wrap. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here with us today. We hope you were inspired and you enjoyed the presentation. Have a productive day ahead, and we will see you again next time.
Thank you
Goodbye.
so much. Bye.
Bye, Architect.